That'll work. I thank you for that.
It's funny coming back when you're
Yeah.
got their phones off.
Phone's turned off, yep. Volume's down.
Good evening, and tonight we'll be having two meetings, first the reorg meeting and then the regular meeting. So welcome to the Springfield School District Board of School Directors Reorganization Meeting, December 9th, 2021. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, it is the purpose of this reorganization meeting to elect school board officers for 2022, elect a solicitor, approve depositories and signatories, and take other reorganization meeting actions as deemed necessary by the board. First thing we need to do is appoint a temporary chairperson.
I nominate Don Bettenvega for temporary chairperson.
All right, we're going to ask for a motion.
Oh, sorry.
The temporary chairperson will preside over the meeting until the 2022 board president is elected. I'm going to open the nomination for temporary chairperson. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, do I have a nomination?
I nominate Don Bettenvega for temporary chairperson.
Okay, anybody else? All right, then do I have a motion to close the nominations?
So moved. Second.
Okay, then we'll vote for Don Bentivania to be the temporary chairperson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Don Bentivania, you are the temporary chairperson, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to a nomination for president for the board for the next year.
You know, and what we're going to do first is we're going to do the
Oath.
oath of the...
What's that?
We're going to switch these two. Let's do the oath first.
Oh, we're going to do this?
Yeah, let's do the oath before you go
Okay.
into president.
All right. We're still doing the same thing then, right?
Administration of oath.
We just want to do the administration of oath.
So I'm opening the floor for nominations for president, right?
Well, I think we should move first to the administration of the oath of the board members-elect, and we have the Honorable Anthony D. Scanlon to do that.
Okay, you want to do that? Okay, we'll do that. At this time, we're going to administer the oath from the judge for the new board members and the re-elected board members.
Thank you, Director, Dr. Barber, and other schools, and thank you for letting me participate. I want to tell you, not only is the school beautiful, but the parking's a whole lot better.
So-
Okay, we're ready. We can bring the affidavit.
It's fine, we're just, yeah, that's great.
All right, so I'm going to ask you if you would just left hand on the Bible. And you're going to repeat after me, all right? I, what's your name? I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it.
Sign this when you get a chance. Thanks.
I guess
meetings. Now we can get on with the election of president.
Sure, why not?
All right, this time I'd like to open the floor for nominations to the president for the board for the year 2022.
Give a
Is there
motion.
nominations?
We need a motion and a second.
Okay.
I'll have a motion, can I so move? Motion?
All right,
Second.
We're doing a motion, you're saying?
Yeah.
Is there a motion of nominations, okay?
So
We have a
moved.
motion and a second, so.
A second?
Yeah.
Okay, now, are there names for nominees for the president for the year 2022?
I'd like to nominate Bruce Lord.
Any other nominees for the position of president? If not, I'd like to propose a motion to close the nominations for president.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and, all right, this time I'd like to have a vote for the position of president. All those in favor of Mr. Lord for president, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Turn it over to the new president. Mr. Lord.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the vote of confidence. I look forward to another year of all this fun. We're going to move right to the election of the vice president. I'm going to ask for a motion to open up the nominations for the 2022 board vice president. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, do I have any nominations?
I nominate Jennifer Laughlin.
No, I think it's Jennifer.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor of Jen Laughlin as board vice president for 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries 9-0. Next, we have the election of the solicitor, designation of retainer, and additional fee agreement. I'm going to ask for a motion to open up the nomination for the 2022 board solicitor. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, do I have any nominations?
President Lord, I'd like to nominate Mark Serini.
Anybody else? Okay, do I have a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of Mark Serini being the 2022 board solicitor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries 9-0.
If I may, I just wanted to extend our gratitude. It's an honor and a pleasure to be working with this team, and we do appreciate your continued confidence in us. Thank
Okay,
you.
we're glad to have you. Next, we have school board committees. We sometimes change around and people move and change committees. We will be having appointments, and they'll be announced prior to our next school board meeting for the year 2022. Designation of out-of-district representatives. The current representatives for the Delaware County Intermediate Unit, Community College, Delaware County School Board's Legislative Council, and the Volunteer Memorial Board will all remain the same for 2022. Do I have a motion to adjourn the reorganization meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to the regular board meeting. Okay, this is the regular school board meeting, December 9th, 2021. First, we're going to have public comment. So we have our clock. We have, as most of you know, that we have a 5-minute time limit. I will say that we usually ask you to state your name and address. We're going to ask you to state your name. If you do not want to state your address for any reason, we would ask you to confirm that you're a Springfield Morton resident or confirm that what you wrote down on the sign-in sheet is correct. So you have some options. Or you can just say your name and address. That's fine, too. We have quite a few speakers and quite a few different topics or views. I'll say what I've said before. I would appreciate everybody showing the speaker the respect that they would expect to get coming up to the podium. That way we can move through this. It gives the board the opportunity to hear the comments and everybody the chance to exercise their right to speak to the board without interruption. That being said, Mr. Lee, you're up first.
Michael Lee, 123 West Open Avenue, Morrison, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, United States of America. Once again, our nation has been seared with another school shooting out in Oxford, Michigan. 4 precious lives have been lost because of a troubled teen who was acting out his frustrations for whatever reason. And once again, we're all wondering, how can we stop this? I don't have the power to give the national leaders in Washington, D.C. or in Harrisburg a spine. As Theodore Roosevelt once said of President William McKinley, most of them down there and up there have the backbone of a chocolate eclair. I have my own solutions on how we can prevent something like this from happening here in Springfield. If they're already being implemented, great. If not, I would hope you would give them very serious consideration, because I'm sure we can all agree, at least I hope we can all agree, that the last thing we want here is a violent outburst. My solutions are these. At the entrance to the high school and E.T. Richardson Middle School, metal detectors. Everyone passes through it. I don't care who it is, from Dr. Barber on down to the most recent student. Everyone goes through it. Every book bag, every backpack, every briefcase, every handbag, every purse is searched. No exceptions. And anyone objects, out the door. Next, another solution would be that I hope that the administrations here at the high school and at the E.T. Richards Middle School, Dr. Barber and his assistant, the principal and the assistant principal at both the high school and the middle school, will work very closely with the police departments of Springfield and Morton, as well as the Delaware County Sheriff's Office, to nip any potential trouble right in the bud. If there's any student, and if there's any student who signs shows of distress, get them to help immediately, and I would hope that the parents in this district are more responsible than the parents of the alleged killer out in Michigan, who just laughed the whole thing off and just hope that he does a bit better job of not getting caught. I'm sure the parents here, as well as guardians and foster parents, whichever your status is in raising a child, are more responsible. But you make sure that they get the help they need, and that also goes for any employee who shows signs that they're on the verge of some kind of a breakdown. Make sure they get the help. Anything that you could do to stop any potential trouble would be great. Now, some may not like these ideas, and that's your right. If you have anything better than what I have to offer, let's hear them. If you disagree with me, that's fine, but give it better disagreement. A bumper sticker slogan, a TV soundbite, and name calling are not solutions. They're just nothing as far as I'm concerned. So, with that being said, on a happier note, we're coming towards the Christmas season. For those who are celebrating Christmas and for those who will be celebrating Kwanzaa or any other religious festivity that at this point I am not aware of, I wish you all a happy and blessed one. It also goes for those too who aren't celebrating anything. And of course, I wish everyone a happy and blessed 2022. And I close with the closing words of President Lyndon Johnson's address to the nation on the evening of March 31st, 1968. Thank you for listening. Good night, and may God bless all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Next up, we have Danielle Elder.
Danielle Elder, Springfield resident. My address is correct on the sign-in sheet.
Thank you.
Thank you for the email you sent out last week, or this week. Thank you for proposing a new mask policy that would allow our kids a little bit more normalcy. I truly hope you vote for our kids tonight. A few stats for you from the CDC's website. Leading causes of death in the United States. Heart disease. So why aren't exercise and healthy eating being mandated? Cancer. Why aren't carcinogens banned from our foods, personal care products, and household cleaning supplies? Accidents. Why isn't driving banned? Notice I didn't mention COVID. Newsflash, they don't care about our health. All these mandates are such an overreaction. It has to stop. Let parents make decisions with their families on what is best for their kids. Masking or not masking has become a political statement. It just has. It's either an irritating liberal virtue signal or it's a defiant conservative middle finger. But wherever you fall on masks, the fact of the matter is, masks are a medical device, and you are not doctors. So stop masking our kids and involving them in your political statement. 2 years of this, we are all ready to move on. You can't guilt us forever with the whole do your part crap. Vaccines are available now for anyone over the age of 5 who wants one. There are amazing treatments available now, monoclonal antibodies, sunlight, exercise, healthy food, vitamins. The virus now basically has the same kill rate as the flu, except for the fact that it rarely causes children to get severely ill. Tom Wolf and his corrupt Department of Health need to get their hands off our children's faces. The Department of Health has authority over the sick, not the healthy. The mask mandate they imposed has been deemed void ab initio, which means that it has never been valid. When the PA Supreme Court validates that finding, what recompense do we, the parents, have? How are you going to apologize to our children for forcing them to mask all year? How will you make that right? Springfield School District, please get your hands off my child's face and get your nose out of my child's medical care. Don't mask my kid, don't test my kid, don't jab my kid. It's been almost 2 years. These kids have been living in an actual clown world. Virtual school, unenforceable and illegal mask mandates, unconstitutional and illegal vaccine mandates, and policies that increasingly seem to want to take the power of raising our children away from we the parents and into the hands of the government. My 2-year-old daughter just had her first gymnastics class this week, and some of the parents tried to put masks on their babies at the beginning of class. The teacher explained why masks are not only not required, but not allowed on the kids during class. It's for safety reasons. When you're doing physical activities that require balance, wearing masks can mess with your depth perception, and people rely on their depth perception to maintain balance. She also said how important it was for athletes to breathe fresh air. So can you please explain to me why it's okay to force our kids to wear masks during gym class? Okay, so indoor sports team athletes are not required to wear a mask, but indoor gym class athletes are? Make it make sense. You either need fresh air to breathe when exerting yourself or you don't. You do, by the way. Being a member of a sports team shouldn't afford you special privileges over your classmates. When will this be enough? The goalposts will never stop moving. Our government has never developed success criteria. We were never given metrics that would determine when the pandemic would be over. We will never get metrics or success criteria because they love the power this pandemic gives them. Does it end when the number of deaths drops below a certain amount, or is it when the case count drops? The fact of the matter is COVID isn't going anywhere. Whether through vaccine or natural immunity, at some point we will achieve herd immunity. If we aren't there, we've got to be close. When we hit it, do you think the government will loosen its grip? Do you think the mandates will end? Do you think they will give back the power and control they've gained over the last 2 years? Wake up. We have been begging you to let our kids breathe for so long. Please, let them breathe. Let them be kids. Let them get back to living some semblance of a normal life. Please, vote. Let's go, Brandon.
Thank you. Christina Desi?
Nice.
Hi, my name is Christina Desi, and I'm a Springfield resident with a son in 4th grade at Scenic Elementary. My address is 200 Folk Lane, Springfield. This is just about, I'm wondering why they still continue to have no musical events for the elementary schools. Scenic Singers, which is a chorus group, a morning activity, extracurricular activity that they had before school. The night before it was starting, they canceled because of COVID, saying that, there wasn't enough space or some kind of excuse. That being said, I spoke with the principal, and, she did say they're going to try to get it back. A couple months later, I had asked, hey, did you hear anything? Or never a response back to me. So it kind of made me a little bit irritated. I'm wondering why ETR, Springfield High School, they can all have these chorus events, and they can have extracurricular for singing, but nothing with the elementary school. These kids are only in elementary for so long. My son has an eye issue, so he can't play sports because he can't see well. So I tried to do things for him that he can participate in, that he can, do without having to really see well. And singing is one of them. He enjoys it. And that's 2 years now, and it's been taken away. I just don't understand why, again, other school districts can make it happen. I know Rose Tree, I know Marple, they've all made it happen for the kids. Even if you have to split the kids, spread them out 6 feet apart, have their mask on, just make it happen. But to say, no, we can't do it because of COVID, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think Springfield can do a lot better and stop using the COVID as an excuse. I'm sick and tired of it. Make these kids sing again. We don't have a winter concert for these kids. Sable doesn't have one, Scenic doesn't have one. They're kids, they want to sing, it's magical, and you guys are taking it all away. I think that there's a way that you can do this. I have offered to volunteer. I would definitely volunteer and start something for these kids. I will help out. I've been on the school board before at the SLC. I was the secretary for 2 years. I know how to run programs. I even offered my services just to make it work for these kids. I just think it's just doing such a disservice to these kids by not having that. And all I'm asking for is to, bring it back. Maybe a spring concert. Maybe start Scenic Singers again. Start it again. Let's get back to normal, because this is absolutely ridiculous. If other school districts can do this, we can. Springfield can do better.
Thank you very much. Mia DeJohn.
I'm Mia DeJohn, 323 Wayne Avenue. I'm here to tell you that I and the other parents and all of our children are done with the mandates, regardless if we get to the finish line on January 17th or not. We appreciate your decision to move towards mask optional, but we're weary at this point, and this has definitely gone on for too long. We're done with all of the things that have literally been invented as we go along as well, like needing a doctor's note for an exemption. That is not true. Like saying a mask on a public school bus is mandated by law. That is not true. I have encouraged my kids to start standing up for themselves in all ways, to take off their masks, to proudly say what they believe in, and be especially proud of how they've been raised and their value systems. I hope they find the courage to do this after being stuck in submission for so long. I do not agree with the position they have been put in. They do not deserve to fear their administrators or their board, to fear standing out in a crowd, or to fear losing their place in sports or activities if they do not comply. I have told them that I support them if they want to take a stand on anything, and I will come up to school 100 days in a row to fight any disciplinary action that you might invent to muzzle them. For example, when their art teacher suggests that my son tie his mask on his face, I will be here to remind that teacher, the board, and the administration what the definition of abuse is. Like my son being called to the office for talking amongst his friends, not even very loud, saying he believes that there are 2 genders. I got a phone call for that. That's okay for him to believe. It's not up to the school administrators It's not up to the school administrators or student body to unravel the values that my husband and I have instilled in him. That is not your job. But I want to say that I was happy to hear that some of the committee was able to come down off the stage at a previous meeting and powwow with the parents that have been attending these meetings since August and even before that, to come down maskless. It did put a human face on all of you, and we all support your decision not to mask that night, off the record, and when the cameras stopped rolling. But I could not help but think, face-to-face, maskless, eye-to-eye, all these good things you did to connect with the parents. But it made me wonder, because you did this knowing that the very next day, our kids were going to be masked up for 7 to 8 hours, and that cycle starts every day since then. I don't believe we will be maskless in January, because the health secretary, who is actually an attorney and not a health professional, is pulling the strings. You're going maskless at that meeting, talking to parents, proved what I and so many have said for so long, that this is all theater. I want to reiterate that we are absolutely done, despite the plans of the government. We complied, and it really changed nothing. To those parents that want the masks on, keep your kids masked if you want to. That's what mask optional means. Just as you think the vaccine is protecting them, the mask should be enough guard against the rest of the world, according to the delusions that you've made up to this point. And at every meeting, you've made this baseless argument. I say to those parents, enroll in the SVA if you are afraid. Ask the board to reintroduce cameras in the class, but do not put your fear on my kids. They're not your kids. Just as you are not willing to have your kids infected, I'm not willing to have mine suffer in other ways from the masks themselves. We have at this point come to the board mostly respectfully. We have been patient and hopeful, but we are wide awake, and it is over. We will not comply.
Thank you. Amy Jackson.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amy Jackson. I'm a Morton resident, and my address is correct on the sign-in form. I would love to be up here today in front of you tonight discussing ideas of how we can better incorporate mental health supports and equity for our most disenfranchised and minority students into school curriculums, but unfortunately, I again have to take the time to address the new health and safety plan that was dispersed to us earlier this week. While our county continues to be at high transmission and a new COVID variant has been making its way across the United States, hospitalizing even those who are already vaccinated, we are again forced to use these meetings to debate something that seems so obviously necessary in order to protect the health and safety of our children and the families in this district. There does not seem to be any clear reason why removing masking mandates for all students and staff will improve the health and safety of our children while we are still in the middle of this pandemic. To leave that decision up to the state's Supreme Court's jurisdiction, who is trying to rule the current school masking mandate is illegal, is irresponsible and negligent. The Supreme Court wants to leave these decisions up to the school boards, and punting this issue back and forth hurts everyone involved. I am as tired of having these discussions as I'm sure you and those on the other side of this debate are as well. We're taking important time away from the work we need to be doing to improve the education and well-being of our students. The former health and safety plan clearly delineated that once the state masking mandate was lifted, students in grades 7 through 12 would have the option of removing masks indoors if they were more than 3 feet apart. Masking would continue to be mandatory for students and teachers in K through 6. That plan was approved here in September, and students over 12 have had ample time and opportunity to receive vaccines, including boosters. Our younger children under 12 have just received 1 or maybe 2 doses of the vaccine if parents were able to get it right away. These students do not yet have full immunity against COVID or its variants. If we remove masking, which we know is helping to prevent the spread of COVID-19, we will not only see a huge increase in positive cases, but we may also open up the door to more variants. I hope you will do the right thing and reject this new plan so we can eventually return to the plan that was already agreed upon at the beginning of the school year and has not even had a chance to be implemented. It's very clear from the past few weeks of incidents that our students need much more than supplemental math instruction during this difficult time. Threats of gun violence by students have been raging across the country in the past few weeks in response to the recent situation in Michigan, including in our district. This is an obvious cry for help from the young members of our community, and we need to do all we can to help support our students. Mental health well-being should be paramount to test scores. If a child does not feel safe, they will not be available to learn. At the Education Subcommittee meetings a few weeks ago, Dr. Barber gave us detailed information about students' performance now that we have resumed in-person instruction. We have a lot to learn from how this situation has affected our children. Unfortunately, the focus of our efforts to remediate learning for those who have had a significant decline in scores does not include mental health supports, which are likely a major reason for these lower test scores. We've all been through trauma. We owe it to our children to address this issue head-on. When left in the shadows, we end up with parents sending their children to schools, our schools, with bulletproof vests because they're too scared to acknowledge the underlying issues causing these threats. Please help us find common ground so we can reach out and help those in our community who are suffering from racially motivated threats and violence, gender and sexual orientation and discrimination, economic hardships, and mental health trauma. Above all, we need to teach our children how to be respectful and responsible to each other and to themselves. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nicole Mesino.
Nicole Mesino, Springfield resident. My address is correct on the form. First, I'd like to thank the board members who actually took the time to respond to some questions and concerns I had over the last month. It's very much appreciated. That's all I've ever really wanted is just some responses. I have two topics that I want to talk about tonight, the masks and security at the school. Obviously, the masks have been a huge issue for a lot of us, and it looks like there is light at the end of the tunnel for us tonight. I do have some questions and concerns. I'm not sure if any of you heard the hearing yesterday, but from what it sounds like, it's going to favor us, and the mandate will end before the middle of January, probably before the end of the month. My question to all of you is, if the mandate were to end, would you allow the younger children to be mask optional before the middle of January, since they have all been able to be vaccinated at this point? I don't think it would make any sense to wait until the middle of January. I also wanted to bring to everyone's attention I have acquired from another parent's right-to-know request an email exchange from the Pennsylvania Intermediate Unit, who seems to be pulling all the strings, informing all of the county's intermediate unit that a school district cannot require a doctor's note to get an exemption. A parent is allowed to sign the exemption form, and the school district should accept that. But for some reason, you guys are making it near impossible. I had to jump through a ton of hoops to get my son a medical exemption. Also, the buses, like Mia was talking about, I did ask because, you know, you're saying that it is mandated by the federal government that you have to be masked on a bus, but you told me because it is a public school that's why. But if it's a public bus, can I get on the bus? You told me no. So therefore, it's not a public entity. It's not public if anybody can't walk and get on it. Secondly, I would like to talk about security in the schools. We have had a threat. There was a threat. I kept my son home the very next day at ETR. I was made aware that in 2018 there was a security officer that was hired for the district. I want to know what happened to him. Is he gone? From what I'm told, he is gone. He's not with us anymore. We no longer have any security. I'm not 100% sure if that's true. He has not been replaced. I think we should have security at all the schools. Last week there was a threat on a calculator. I kept my son home. When we walk into these meetings, we get wanded like we're domestic terrorists, but our children are free to walk into the school with God knows what on them. That's very dangerous in today's society and what's going on in the world. We should have a security team. I feel like there should be an officer at each school. We should have people patrolling the schools. I agree with the gentleman. I'm not sure what his name is. I just feel like, we need to ramp up to security at the school. If we don't have a security officer, we need to hire one. We need to hire a team of people. Today's world is actually very scary. That's really all I have to talk about. I did want to say that my son is speaking after me. I'm very proud of him. He is trying to have a voice for the children, so he is next. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Giovanni Mesino. So, Giovanni, you just state your name and that you're a Springfield resident, and you can go ahead and get started.
Okay. My name is Giovanni Mesino. I'm a Springfield resident from 478 Granite Terrace. Throughout the recent months, I've had a first-hand experience of what is happening in my school. And during all of these meetings, the only people that actually come up and talk are the parents. I think that more kids should be coming up here to talk to you because they know what it's like to be in the schools. The first day of school, I came in without a mask and was immediately escorted into the office, where I waited over an hour just to be told I had to leave. Later, my mom got me an exemption, and I am now no longer wearing a mask. I am the only person that's not wearing one. Many of the kids also don't want to wear a mask. I don't understand why you're forcing us to wear them. Schools are literally the only place that is forcing kids and adults to wear a mask. It's ridiculous and should be optional at this point, as it would help kids to learn and focus. Kids are constantly adjusting their masks, and not to mention the destruction of school property that has to do with kids breaking the strings and using the cut chairs. You are probably aware of this because it's currently trending on TikTok. Masks should be an optional thing. You should let kids or the parents decide. What all of you don't see is how kids remove their masks any chance they get. My friends will take down their masks when they talk and hardly ever wear it. So why even force us to wear the masks at all if it's not worn properly half the time? Not many other kids will come up and do this, but I want to be the voice for the kids who don't wear the mask. I know there's a vote tonight about the masks. If you could all vote for them to be optional, that would be greatly appreciated by all of my friends and all the kids that don't like them.
Good job, Giovanni.
Good job.
Thanks for coming in tonight. Next, we have Jim Lawrence.
Hi, my name is Jim Lawrence, 929 Providence Road, also known as the Hill of Waiting, near Coles. I'm not here to slam the board or anything like that. It's the first meeting after Thanksgiving, and so I just wanted to express my appreciation for the Literacy Center. My daughter's in kindergarten. She absolutely loves it. My interaction with the teachers and the staff, which is just as important, have been fabulous, and hers as well. And just wanted to say I love the building. I appreciate anybody that was on the board, whatever, 10, 15 years ago, who planned it all. Just very well done. The work with the YMCA and the enrichment program, it's all fabulous. There are people that have spoken before me. I'm grateful that they have expressed my opinion, so I didn't have to come up here and basically slam the board, because I do have my own positions on the masks and everything, but, you know, I just wanted to come up here and thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Elena Macario.
Good evening. Here we are again, 545 West Springfield Road, Elena Macario. I have a ninth grader and a daughter who graduated. Here we are again, same spot we were 20 months ago, only now we have more information. We know masks don't work. It's completely apparent that they don't work because our kids are in masks, and they keep sending emails saying they've been exposed to someone with COVID. I get them like every other day. So clearly, they're not working because kids are getting COVID, and they're all living, miraculously enough. That alone should give you all you need to know to remove them. We also know COVID isn't a death sentence, especially for children, and no child has died from COVID in this district. We were also told that after the vaccine was available, the masks would go away, and apparently that wasn't true either. We parents want you to know, when this unlawful mandate ends in January, we're done complying. We'll not test our kids with cancer sticks to keep them in school. We'll not ask them to wear masks. You've been elected to fight for our children. You're not doing that. We're aware of the power you have to end this. However, we're baffled by the fact you're not brave enough to use it. So now, we'll take matters into our own hands. You'll have mass non-compliance. You'll have parents who will pull their children from the school and fight for their child's funds to follow them. We need you to hear us loud and clear. We're done complying. You've pushed us too far. In the past 2 days, 3 schools in Delco have been on lockdown due to threats. Yet when I asked where the security officer was at the committee meeting, I was told that he moved to Florida and was never replaced. If you're truly concerned about the safety of our children, why hasn't he been replaced? And why was one person assigned to 5 schools in this day and age? When we walked in here, you put us through screening to be at this meeting, but have no one screening anyone coming into the schools. It's nice to know that you find your safety more important than our children's. You find it more important to provide a vaccine clinic and a testing center than to put metal detectors in our schools. It's clear our children are not the priority. We hope you choose to be on the right side of this. We hope you uphold the oath to the Constitution that you took and chose to give parents the freedom to choose what's best for their children, and if you decide not to, we'll do it in spite of you.
Thank you. Beth Sparks.
Good evening, Board. My name's Beth Sparks, 308 Spring Valley Road. I don't have much prepared tonight, but I hope to speak from the heart. I don't have anger towards this board at all, nor do I have anger towards the Springfield community. In fact, in the passing of my father on November 4th, I've seen nothing but love in this community. But I do think that we need to understand what is best for our children, what is best for our neighbors, our brothers and sisters. And this idea that socialism is so good that it has to be mandatory is ridiculous. I just want you to think about that for a minute. If the ideas of socialism are so good, why do we have to mandate them? I'm worried about the soul of this nation. I'm not worried about the souls and the hearts of my children. I know how they were raised. I know how their friends were raised. I know many of the beautiful people in this community. But I am very, very, very worried that these kids are becoming isolated. Young children, babies are not developing properly because they're not able to see facial expressions. And I'll tell you, recently, my daughter Lydia was sicker with a stomach bug than any time she has been exposed to COVID. And I'll tell you, someone might say, okay, well, when did she have COVID? I don't know. I don't test my kids. I won't test my kids. I will not put a vaccine in my child's arm when there is no repercussion of a vaccine in these pharmaceutical companies in years to come. You will not see somebody on the news, an attorney from a firm, say, if your child got the COVID vaccine in 2021, you are eligible for X, Y, and Z. I will not look at my kids in the eyes and say, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry that you're having heart conditions. I'm sorry that you can't have kids. You might think that's ludicrous, but I have talked to so many in this community about what we thought wouldn't happen, and it's happening, folks. We didn't think that our kids would be forced, or people would be forced to go on an airline or not without showing a card. People didn't think that they would have to be able to show a card to go to a restaurant. But here we are. If this is the socialist society that we all want to live in, have at it. This is not the society and not the values I teach my children, and my husband and I teach our children. Furthermore, I'm just going to speak to logic about this. We can all say vaccinate, don't vaccinate. That's a parent's choice, what they want to do. We need to talk about medical autonomy and what we want to do for our children and what our children want. My kids aren't old enough to speak up for what they want, and until they're 18 years old, I will make their medical decisions proudly. But I will say to you that I experienced firsthand in my father's passing what is really happening behind the scenes. It is sinister. It is dark. I was not able to go into the hospital and advocate for my dad. It is against federal law that I was not able to do that. But I was reminded of all the protocols that were keeping him safe. All of the staff was vaccinated. But yet, I couldn't get in to see him in the hospital or speak to the physician at hand in the ICU because he was on call. And there was one attending physician for the entire hospital. Guys, we have to wake up. Our founding fathers, trust me, are disgusted by what we are allowing to happen. Again, I'm not saying this is your fault by any stretch of the imagination, but someone is pulling the strings, and it's starting at the federal government, down to the state, and down to you. We are here to help you. I would be happy to offer support to help you make the decisions that are right by these kids and right by society. Good night, God bless.
Thank you, Bess. Sorry for your loss. Next, we have Alexandra Donato.
Hi guys, Alexandra Donato, and I'm a Springfield resident. My address is correct on the form. Good evening, Dr. Barber, board members, and neighbors. I'm here tonight to talk about several issues that are important in our district. Firstly, I would like to start by saying thank you to the board for hopefully voting to edit our health and safety plan later this evening. Although I may not agree with how long this took to happen and some of the choices you made during this insane nightmare, it is good to see that we're finally getting closer to being on the same page. There are many parents who support you and know that this is the right choice. No one on our side of the table is suggesting that masks be banned or telling anyone else what choices they should make for their children. We simply expect the same respect in return. This has gone on long enough. Anyone who wanted a vaccination for themselves or their children will have had ample time to do so by this date. Parents are free to continue to send their children to school masked. Anyone who believes in the efficacy of their mask or vaccine should not have a problem with others not wearing them. If parents are still that terrified of this virus, I would suggest they look into the option of virtual learning. It's way past time to let our children get back to normal, just like pretty much everyone else has. I would like to point out that many of our children went to school this summer for both the Summer Scholars and the Y program. Masks were optional the entire time. Despite what the media or some people here would like you to believe, no one died, no one was hospitalized, no one was responsible for murdering your children, your parents, or elderly neighbors. There were only 2 cases of COVID in students the entire summer, and no one is able to tell whether or not it was even contracted in school. My son, who has a plethora of medical issues, has been masked the entire time. He is no threat to your children and did not spread COVID to anyone because you cannot spread a virus that you don't have. That is science. If he were sick, I would keep him home like most reasonable people would. The fact that I've sat and listened to people compare healthy children to Typhoid Mary is so beyond absurd and asinine that I don't even have the words to explain it. We are 2 years into this pandemic and are blessed in the fact that almost no one is dying from this virus anymore. In the case of our children, none ever really were. This virus is less deadly than the average flu. Obviously, any death of a child is sad, but let's keep in mind that we are using recalled PCR testing, which can't tell the difference between a coronavirus and the flu, and sadly, most of these children were terminally ill in the first place. My mother and I recently both got antibody tests. We both had high levels of antibodies, but neither of us ever felt sick enough to suspect that we had COVID. While I may be young-ish and mostly healthy, my mother is 70 and has many medical issues. The fact that both of us could get this virus without being very ill just goes to show you this is nowhere near as deadly as it's being made out to be. The education of our children has been damaged long enough. This can be proven by the testing results shown at the last meeting. I've seen firsthand how much my son regressed during virtual and hybrid learning, but seeing how much he has learned and excelled in the last 3 months is amazing. The development and mental health of our children has suffered greatly as well. This is evidenced by the many threats of violence that have happened in the last few weeks all around the country and Delaware County specifically. In just the last week and a half, I've been made aware of threats or fights in Aston, Ridley Park, Upper Darby, Drexel Hill, Marple, and Springfield. Why do we not have security in our schools? While I am not by any means suggesting that we turn it into a prison, from what I understand, there is not even a single security officer in any of the buildings. I went to an inner city high school where people of all races, religions, and creeds respected each other, oddly enough, without the need for any equity training or diversity. There were no fistfights in the hallways. However, even there, we walked through metal detectors every day my junior and senior years. We had to be scanned by metal detectors just to come into this room. I guess this is necessary when you have large groups of domestic terrorists congregating, but why are we not taking the same measures to protect children? While I know sports are a huge deal here to children, I think it's kind of frivolous to be spending millions of dollars to upgrade fields when we don't have any proper safety measures in place. If everyone were half as concerned with the threat of school violence as they were with the virus with a 99.95% survival rate in children, I would feel much safer sending my son to school. I hope this is something the board has been thinking about as well. I hope everyone has a blessed Christmas, if we're still allowed to say that, and I'm looking forward to starting fresh in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Dina Boggs.
Good evening, my name is Dina Boggs, and my address, I'm a Morton resident, that's what I am. I'm a Morton resident, and my address is correct on the form. I wanted to start, I didn't really have anything prepared tonight, and I was just going to kind of speak from the heart, as Beth said. I just want to start with masks for a second. People who choose to wear masks and have their children mask, again, it's their choice. We're not asking you to take away their choice. We're just asking you to let us parents who choose not to have their children masked to have that same opportunity to keep them safe as I consider to be safe. As I discussed at the first meeting, science says that the size of the particle is 1,000 or more times smaller than the size of any weaving and masking, threading of the masks that you are wearing. If it's not a KN95, N95, or full OSHA gear, it's not working. In an interview with Dr. Fauci, the doctor that everybody is listening to regarding these masks and all these vaccines and medical decisions, he said verbatim, people should not be walking around with masks. There is no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think it is. This is a direct quote from Dr. Fauci. I also want to state that there have been vaccines over the years that have had, I believe it was polio, that had over 20-some people pass away just from the vaccine, and they scrapped it immediately. And with the H1N1 vaccine, over 50 people died just from the vaccine. They scrapped it immediately. Pfizer just came out on their website stating that 1,200 people died specifically from the vaccine, and it is still being encouraged. It is still ongoing. I just want to say that to the parents to understand. Please do your research, because it's not even a vaccine. It is an experimental gene therapy that is still under emergency use authorization. Also take a moment to look up the contract between the government and Moderna. They have a contract for the Moderna gene-altering therapy that is in these vaccines. Just take note of that. I want to discuss the quarantine policy. As discussed at the last meeting, my son, my healthy son who had the virus in December, has natural immunity. He has been sent home 3 times now. He sent home October and November
because he's healthy but was exposed to somebody who had COVID, tested positive for COVID. Both times he was exposed, both of those students were fully vaccinated. And my son was sent home completely healthy, symptom-free, because he was exposed to somebody who was vaccinated. Yet, the 10, 12 kids between them who were fully vaccinated were allowed to stay because they were vaccinated. That is discrimination. The definition of discrimination in layman's terms is when a person is treated unfairly or badly because the person is of one particular group. This is exactly what's happening at the Springfield School District when the health and safety policies forces the staff to treat the children who are not vaccinated differently than those who are. It is discrimination. I have a 21-year-old daughter who has cerebral palsy. She is wheelchair bound. She was blessed with a gift of an extra year at her school this year because of COVID. But you know what I had to do? I had to pull her out. I had to pull my daughter out of school so she is not getting her physical therapy, her occupational, her speech therapy, her music therapy, her rec therapy, her socialization, and her education. Why, you ask? Because she's unvaccinated. And they are testing her twice a week with the Binex nail test that have ethylene oxide on the cotton swabs, which is a carcinogen. If you look it up in cdc.gov or cancer.gov, ethylene oxide is a carcinogen, and they're sticking it up their children's noses or people's noses, and it's in their nasal cavity. It's near their brain. My daughter is not able to get anything that she needs this year because I, as a parent, want to protect her from the carcinogens and cancer sticks that are being stuck up her nose. And I find it to be completely disgraceful. My son was sent home yesterday because he walked to the nurse's office because he had been sniffling. And he walked to the nurse's office to ask if he can have a pain medicine for his head. And because he was sniffling and had a headache, she sent him home. She sent him home because they are two of the symptoms that are on the COVID list, okay? When I type those two words into Google, common cold, sinusitis, flu, seasonal allergies is what comes up. Yet my healthy son has now missed 5.5 days of school. If I didn't allow him to submit to getting that cancer swab up his nose, he would have missed 20+ days of school for being healthy. And then he's home and he has no way of being educated. So I just pray to God that you guys use logic and rationale. I also wanted to say, look up Fauci's interview where he stated in 2015, that we can expect a surprise pandemic to occur in the next administration. This was planned, people, planned.
Thank you. Becky Miller.
Becky Miller, and my address is on the form.
Okay.
I don't even think I can beat that one. I don't think I can beat any of yours. And I have family in the medical profession, in the pharmaceutical business. They're saddened by what they took an oath out of pharmacy school to be ethical. They have PharmDs and everything else. And it is an absolute disgrace. What I just heard Dina said, I know Gavin. I know Gavin since kindergarten. He deserves to be in school just like my kids. He's not sick. And asymptomatic, some people have the antibodies, didn't know they were sick. Well, let me tell you something. COVID was around before there was ever a word COVID. I worked in Marple at the time. We had a woman pass out with pneumonia. We had a little boy die back in February, that before this whole thing came out. This was here already. And let me get down to what Beth said, because I totally agreed with that too. We are the United States of America. The United States of America stands for capitalism. Capitalism creates choices. Socialism is communism. Communism creates no choices. We've been mandated to wear masks, put our kids in masks. Some of us have had COVID. Some of us know a lot about that vaccine. We don't appreciate other parents telling us what to do with our children. And we're not going to stand for it anymore because we're done. We're done with this little game. And my husband would say, calm down, Becky. Calm down, stop talking about it. I said, Ken, let me tell you something. I'm not going to calm down until this game ends. Because I had a real sick thought today. I have a funny feeling it's going to end. Because the government created these COVID tests long before COVID happened. And this was not a Donald Trump thing. This is not a political thing. I have a funny feeling the tests are going to start coming up negative. You wait and see. There's not going to be as much positive testing. That's my thoughts. Because I know a lot of people sick right now that don't have COVID all of a sudden. No COVID, they got the flu. All of a sudden the flu's resurfacing. So I have a good feeling we're going to be out of masks. Just by default of, you shut the world down for how many months? I was in financial services. Jeffrey's employees in New York City, 98% of them are vaccinated. They all have COVID right now. Any thoughts? Any thoughts? You guys can speak. No, you can't. That's right. And it's really annoying that we sit here and talk to like statues when we all know you have a beating heart in those bodies, just like us. So us parents are done. And we're done. We're done with the lie. We've lived it. You know what? Go out in the world. The people that are afraid, stay in your houses, don't live. As for us, we've been living, we're experiencing it. We had COVID. We lost people to COVID. We lost people to heart conditions. We've been out in the world living, and we've been crying and mourning that we're still mourning this holiday season because there's not as many people around our table this year. And we're never going to miss it again. We're never going to let that happen to us again. Everybody's going to sit at that dining room table, come to our houses, have soda with us, whatever you want to do. Eat what you want, do what you want. Because this is ridiculous. This is the United States of America. We believe in capitalism and choices. And by the way, the drugs need to be brought back. We need to start making our own ingredients in these drugs. Because this whole Chinese thing that happened, that took us down, will continue to take us down. So we're on to it. Maybe you're lucky that we're your residents. Maybe you're not lucky. But a lot of us, once the eyes open to God, the Lord, everything, and once you know this, you can't close your eyes to it. Some of us cannot be brainwashed. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. I hope all of you have a beautiful time with your family and friends, and get as many people out at your house that you can, because that's what it's about. It's about faith, family, and friends. And I do appreciate everything you've done so far, but we got work to do, and we got to keep these kids motivated, because I got to tell you, my kids are losing it a little. So, but thank you all for everything that you've served, okay?
Thank you, Becky.
Thanks, Becky. All right, Dawn Ogden? Dawn Ogden? That, okay.
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, Dawn.
I'm Dawn Ogden. I live at 57 South Britton Road. And I would just like to start off talking about masks once again, how frankly ineffective they are in the grand scheme of things. It's factual that 85% of people that have contracted COVID have worn masks. So they don't work. They don't work in the capacity that we're wearing them. I have a lot to say about this because I'm a frontline healthcare worker. I work directly with COVID every day. I've seen people die. I've seen people live. I've seen people live that shouldn't have lived, that were very near death. There's not a single person, fiber in my being that believes that COVID is not real. It is real in every capacity. The measures that are being dealt out to deal with this real disease are ridiculous. And I'm going to share with you my own experience within the healthcare sector without violating any HIPAA laws. I encounter patients regularly. Currently, we're seeing people with COVID, without COVID. We're seeing a lot of sick people coming in with adults having RSV virus, which is typically a virus that is very dangerous for young young people, babies particularly, get it a lot, and it could be deadly. Adults are getting it. Pneumonias of unknown origin, idiopathic, we call it, which means we don't know what the hell it is, all right? So it's a pneumonia, though. These are all, and then also, there was a woman who is also a respiratory therapist who came in, and she had nothing more, and she was pretty much like, she was on death's door, she couldn't breathe. And she had nothing more than the rhinovirus. The reason I'm bringing this up is we are suppressing our immune systems. There is no, till this day, science, actual science, that supports wearing masks in the capacity that we're wearing them is effective. Prior to COVID, if I walked around the hospital floors with an N95 mask on, which I do all the time, I would lose my job on the spot. Because when you're seen with a mask outside of an area that is considered infectious, you're considered infectious. And the rules have all changed. We changed all the rules. We changed all the rules, and we laugh about it because, as healthcare workers, we walk around with the same mask because we don't, we can't change them after each patient. So that, unfortunately, this is what's happening in the healthcare sector, and there are people getting very sick. I am encountering numerous people that are COVID positive that have been vaccinated. That has no bearing on anything. Not to discredit, I believe in vaccines, I believe in masks in certain capacities. It's just that the capacity that we're wearing them in does not work. Another topic is equity training and critical race theory and things of that sort. I know that there are parents and people that are very passionate. However, with that being said, there's also something called perception, which is not reality. And we have to apply what's happening in our real world to reality. Your perception doesn't get to be my reality, and that's currently what's happening. Not meaning yours, but equity, white supremacy, all these terms, we are failing our white children. Because right now in society, there is an all-out attack on white people, particularly white males. They are not getting the attention within the school system that they need. They don't have another box to check. They don't have another group to go to. They can't basically identify with something else other than what they are. And it's bottling up a lot of emotion, and you're seeing a lot of negative things occurring.
Thank you. Aaron Kennedy Rogers.
Hey everybody, I'm Erin Kennedy Rogers. My pronouns are she, her. I live at 230 North Rolling Road in Springfield, and I have a kindergartner at the SLC. Thank you so much for having us all here to talk tonight and for hearing us all out. I actually am not going to talk about masks. I think that has been pretty played out at this point, but I did want to talk about the health and safety plan at large. When I think about the health and safety of my kids, I also think about their mental health. And so I would love to hear, I know you can't respond tonight, but I would love to see from the board a more hashed out mental health and safety plan. I know that we've all heard about the threat that came at ETR last week. I would also love to know about protocols when those threats happen, why the parents of the SLC weren't informed when we share campus, and really why the whole community at large wasn't informed, because a lot of us have kids in multiple schools, and everybody was hearing about it and was really concerned. I know that there are some pretty incredible health professionals within our community and that you all liaise with many other school boards when it comes to mental health and safety concerns. So I would love to see, you know, a more public plan about how we're addressing all of the really, really difficult things that our kids are going through. You know, just in response to here tonight, you know, I have 2 white sons, and I believe that they should hear and appreciate the history of white, black, and brown children equally. I believe that in speaking to them about the things that our society has done wrong, they actually learn ways to not repeat those things. I don't think that we can pull the wool over our children's eyes and hope that they're better for tomorrow. I believe in learning from the mistakes of the past, and that doesn't make them feel bad, and that doesn't make them carry the guilt. I am a white woman myself. I am not responsible for slavery, but I am sure responsible for making a better world for tomorrow. So that's really it. You know, I really appreciate all the work that you do. I know that we're living in an incredibly polarized and difficult time, and I would just encourage you to, rather than ignoring some of these really tough issues, if we can put them out there bold and upfront, talk about mental health, talk about race in a really productive and inclusive way, I think that would be fantastic. So thank you so much for your time, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment. I'd like to thank everybody. That was really good. There's some different views and a lot of opinions, and we did good. And thank you all for spending time here and giving us your feedback. Next, we have items for public information. The Cougars Sports Report. Ms. Flynn.
Thank you, President Lord, but I don't have much to report tonight. Winter sports haven't begun. They begin tomorrow here at the high school, and ETR is having tryouts that start next week. So be more to report in January.
Okay, look forward to it. Next, we have committee reports. Education, Dr. Laughlin.
Thank you, President Lord. Education Committee did not meet since our last board meeting.
Okay.
So again, we always meet, we'll start again in January, and we always welcome the public. 13th. January 13th. Thank you, Dr. Barber.
You're welcome.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Next, we have facilities. Mr. Keenan.
Thank you, President Lord. As if education facilities didn't meet, being that we're a week early with this board meeting right now. This is our night to meet. Just an announcement for facilities. We're going to move it to a Wednesday. A lot of the community has commented they would like to attend education and facilities. So before they were always at the same time, but with that in mind, we are going to move facilities to Wednesdays. That way, if you wanted to come to both, you'll be able to come to both. So the next facilities committee meeting will be January 12th. It will be up here. I'm not sure the location. Maybe we'll have it in the big conference room since we have all this, since we have more room now.
Yeah.
Usually we were tucked in the small conference room, but maybe we'll have it in the big conference room. So please check the website or contact Don Mooney. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Keenan. Next, we have Finance and Audit. Mr. Agavino.
Thank you. Finance and Audit did not meet. However, we will meet on Tuesday, December the 14th at 6 o'clock, Don? 5:30. 5:30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Personnel did not meet. Policy, Mr. Bentavania.
Policy Committee did not meet this month.
Okay, Communications, Mr. Agavino.
No report, no future meeting to report.
Volunteer Memorial, Mr. Bentavania.
Volunteer Memorial did not meet this month.
Okay. Consent agenda, although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold discussion on these items. With the consent of all members, they are therefore grouped and approval is given in one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any item, the board president will move it to an appropriate place on the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any comments, questions? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? I'm sorry. Was somebody say they're opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion carries 9-0. Items for board action, health and safety plan. Recommendation reads that the board approves the changes to the health and safety plan as presented with an effective date of January 17, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Barber.
Thank you, President Lord and members of the board, and I will also like to say thank you to everybody who made public comment. Really appreciate your thoughts and your concerns, truly do. And we love your passion and your commitment to your children. It's awesome. Obviously, during this time, there's been times when we've agreed, we've disagreed, emotions have run very deep, and, you know, sitting in this chair, trying to navigate this pandemic and really relying on so many different people and so many different resources. It's almost gets you a little emotional to think about, you know, where we were and where we're going. So tonight I'd like to propose changes to our health and safety plan for the members of our school board to vote on. The plan has been on the website, have received you know, some questions about it, and I appreciate those questions, and we'll continue to answer them. The biggest change would be that based on I'll just read it. The district recognizes that the acting Secretary of Health, who is the highest ranking public official in Pennsylvania, deems it appropriate for masks to be optional in Pennsylvania after January 17, 2022. The Springfield School District has no basis to conclude differently, and therefore the district will likewise also allow masks to be optional in schools as of that date. That is obviously the biggest change to the health and safety plan. I think whether you agree in vaccines or not, the Springfield School District valued the vaccines. We supported people that wanted to get one, whether you wanted to get one or not. And by January 17th, that is 2 weeks after what a typical spike we would see in terms of cases. It's also has given people time to have their children vaccinated that are eligible. The Springfield School District values vaccines. SSD supports anyone who wants to wear a mask, and we encourage other people that if you're unvaccinated, if you want to wear a mask, if you're vaccinated, you want to wear a mask. Basically, we want to give the choice back to our families. We still have, you know, obviously guidance that we need to follow, and we still have programs in place to kind of help us with that guidance and the procedures and protocols. But obviously the biggest and most pressing issue tonight is for the approval of the proposed plan with an effective date of January 17th, 2022, whereby we would support anyone who wants to wear a mask, but it would be an option. Take questions.
Good? Are you guys, anybody have any questions for Dr. Barber?
No, but President Lord, I'd like to say something. You know, this one topic we've probably talked about countless hours. We've debated this back and forth and talked about the different times and dates and when this stuff should turn back to the parents and go with the mask or not. But, you know, I think everybody's had the opportunity to get the vaccine at this point. By Christmas, by the end of the year, when we return to school, I think it's anybody who wanted to get the vaccine would have had the full immunity at that point. So my only objection to the health and safety plan is that I think the 17th is too late. I think we should come back to school in the fall and I would prefer that we come back to school in the, you know, January 3rd, when we come back to school, come back mask optional at that point. I don't know if there's data available to continue to talk about a spike, because we really haven't had the data available since we've had the vaccines. And just, that would be my one objection to the plan, is that we just do it to come back in school and start fresh the new year and go from that point. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions or comments? Nope. Okay, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the health and safety plan, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstain? Motion carries 8-1. Next, we have the personnel report. The recommendation reads that the board approves the personnel actions as listed in the personnel report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Bellis?
Thank you, President Lord. On this evening's personnel report, we have the resignation of a non-certificated staff member. We're recommending the employment of a certificated teacher, the employment of a long-term substitute teacher, and we're recommending the change of employment status of a long-term substitute teacher to a contracted certified teacher. And finally, we have one family medical leave. And that concludes my report this evening.
Any questions for Ms. Bellis? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries 9-0.
President Lord, does that mean that gentleman in the back there is now official in his capacity as a teacher in the Springfield School District? Ms. Bellis, does that mean that gentleman right there in that row?
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't know we were voting on him.
Yes, that would be correct.
Wait a minute. Can we do this
Does that
over?
mean he's
Recall that
official?
vote, President Lord, recall that vote.
Yeah, let's do that again.
That gentleman is official.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Crowder is now officially a teacher in the Springfield School District.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you earned it.
Okay. Next, we have Springfield High School Master Plan Change Order Approval. Recommendation reads that the board approves the following change orders. Number 01-002 for $11,438. Change order number 01-013 for $74,150.02. Change credit order number 01-014 for, is that negative 23?
That's correct.
145? I like that. That's a first. That's a first.
Credit change.
So a negative $23,145.50. And change order number 04-003 for $20,517.10 for various general construction additions, including site work, electrical, concrete, painting changes, and deletion of signage for the completion of the new high school and demolition of the old building at related site work. All change order costs will be funded from the original capital projects and bond proceeds. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mooney?
Thank you, President Lord. So this is really, we're trying to get across the finish line here with the master plan. These are some of the final cleanup change orders for both general contractor, electrical, and the demo contractor as they finish up some of their work and complete the paperwork for the project.
Any questions for Mr. Mooney? No, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries 9-0. Next, we have the proposed resolution not to exceed the Act 1 index. Recommendation reads that the board approves the resolution that the 2022-2023 general fund operating budget tax millage increase will not exceed the Act 1 index of 3.4%. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mooney?
Thank you, President Lord. So we are already started in the middle of the budget process for 2022-23. The board's going to take action tonight that we will not exceed the Act 1 index of 3.4%. That allows us to work on getting the proposed budget together, and we'll be back to the public in May is when we'll do that, and we'll take a look at that budget. And this is just one of those formal steps that we will not exceed the index, the board approving that.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Mooney? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries 9-0. Next, we have the liaison report, solicitor's report. Ms. McCullough.
Thank you, but I have nothing to report this evening.
Okey dokey. Legislative board report. Mr. Agavino.
I do have a brief report. Not only are masks in the courts, there's another important case occurring, and that is William Penn School District, right here in Delaware County, and other litigants versus the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That case, that district is actually suing the state on the basis that they're not fairly and equitably funded. Something we should all keep our eye on. As we know, the Southeast here, we pay an inordinate share of property taxes and school taxes. So this case looks to fundamentally change how we fund our schools. So we need to keep an eye on this. The hold harmless provision, as we know, says that districts, whatever they received the year before, will remain minimally the following year. And there are counties across the Commonwealth that are paying a lot less taxes than we do. So this is an important case to watch, especially for those of us that live in this part of the state. So we'll keep you posted, but it's really important and definitely could fundamentally change how we do things.
Good.
That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the DCIU Board Report. Ms. Ravinsky.
Thank you, President Lord. DCIU met Wednesday, December 1st, like usual, the first Wednesday of the month. Specifically, their programs, the LPN program has had much success, more so than in the prior years. Their pass rate has gone up when they actually take the boards. And part of that is because they implemented more online support and the tutoring, additional tutoring support even after their courses were over, before the people would take the NCLEX exam. And that really has a positive effect. So they're going to keep doing that, and they will be hosting more virtual as well as in-person tours and open houses. Also, the technical schools is doing the same thing. They're going to be promoting their programs and their application deadline, if anyone is interested, for your students. That is February 28th, 2022, February 28th. And there are 21 different technical programs. Typically, children can start in sophomore year, junior, and even senior year. I think there are a few. But, so that deadline's coming up, not until February. And then on a more local note, I guess you'd say, the Veterans Day essay contest that was held, first place went to one of our own, 6th grade student from ETR, Cameron McKellen. And yeah, thank you. Ms. Epperson is the teacher, and third place went to Angelina Frazier, an 8th grade student at ETR. So we're very proud of them. And that's it. And the next meeting for DCIU will be December 5th, again at 7 p.m. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Margie. Delaware County Community College Board Report. Mr. Sillo.
Yes, thank you. The board has not met.
Okay, future board meetings, January 20th, 2022, February 24th, 2022. Salutations, Dr. Barber.
Thank you, President Lord. Giovanni, you did a really, really, really good job. You should be very proud of yourself.
What are you going to talk about next month?
No, seriously, you should be very proud of yourself. It's not easy to get up in public to command respect and get your point across. You did a really nice job. Really, really nice job. Proud of you. We will be singing in the elementary schools in the new year, so I just wanted to make sure. No one is, but that's fine. That's what makes the country great. That's what makes our meetings great. We serve the public. So I just wanted you to know that we were waiting for the vaccines, whether you believe them or not, but we were waiting, and now that people have had the opportunity, we're going to come back to singing in the elementary schools. So I wanted to make sure you knew that. I just want to thank our staff. Some of those guys are back there. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. Thank you for all your help with the health and safety plan, for everything you guys do. Our teachers, everybody in the Springfield School District, just want to wish you a happy holiday and be safe, and we will see you in 2022.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Barber. Again, I want to thank everybody on the board for everything they do, and I really appreciate being, I usually talk a little bit about that, but I thought we had a whole bunch of good things going on, so I just kind of said thank you, but I really do appreciate the vote of confidence and look forward to being the president for the next year. I think we all deserve to have a really good, happy holiday season. Everybody deserves that. And so I'd like to wish everybody happy holidays from Springfield School District. Before and after each meeting, the board meets in a non-public executive study session to discuss personnel, legal, and labor relations matters. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.